After stepping into the WNBA with sky-high expectations and an overwhelming media spotlight, Caitlin Clark somehow managed to surpass every prediction and achieve milestones no player has reached this early in their career. She has completely rewritten the rookie record book, transformed a consistently struggling franchise into a playoff contender, and made women's basketball cool again for fans across all generations, all within just a few short months. It's nearly impossible to find another young athlete in any sport who has made such a massive and immediate impact. Many are now realizing they're watching greatness unfold before their eyes, from basketball legends and sports journalists to social media personalities and internet critics who once doubted Caitlin's magic. Among those captivated by her rise is none other than Shaquille O'Neal. The Big Diesel has remained one of basketball's loudest and most entertaining voices through his role on Inside the NBA. Never one to hold back his opinions, Shaq has openly admitted that his interest in women's basketball grew mainly because of Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, whose college rivalry he followed closely. Having attended Louisiana State University, LSU himself, it made sense that he initially supported Angel, a fellow LSU star. Since their unforgettable clash in the 2023 NCAA Finals, Shaq has consistently praised Reese as a rare talent, even going as far as calling her the best basketball player ever to come out of LSU, ranking her above both himself and the legendary Pistol Pete Maravich. That's high praise coming from a man with 4 NBA championship rings and an MVP trophy to his name, and even Angel herself admitted she was shocked by such a compliment.
Yeah, Shaq told me that I was the best player to come out of LSU. It puts a lot of pressure on me, and I feel like I haven't done anything.
Shaq once told her directly, "You're the best player ever to come out of LSU," a statement that, according to Reese, added pressure but also immense motivation. Despite her humility, she achieved something neither Shaq nor Maravich ever did, winning an NCAA championship. Thanks to modern NIL rules, her success paid off in a big way, allowing her to land a lucrative shoe deal before her senior year. Interestingly, Reese didn't sign with Nike or Adidas like most stars. She chose Reebok, following the legacy of the gentle giant who once wore the same LSU jersey. The brand, now attempting a major comeback, appointed Shaq as its president of basketball operations, making the partnership even more symbolic. This signing drew huge attention and publicly cemented the growing connection between O'Neal and Reese, a bond that has only strengthened since. Shaq naturally took on the role of an informal mentor, sharing his wisdom about basketball, discipline, and professionalism with the young phenom. He's never hidden his admiration for Angel, supporting her long before she turned pro, and has often spoken about how he tries to guide fellow LSU athletes who remind him of the hunger he once had.
So I was just, telling her how to handle adversity, how to handle, controversy, and with a person like her, you don't really want to come and say, do this and do that. I was just coming and, giving her encouraging words, just telling her, to hang in there.
It's unclear exactly how close Shaquille O'Neal and Angel Reese remain or how often he's been in contact with her since she entered the WNBA, but one thing is certain. Shaq has never hidden the fact that he firmly supports her. To his credit, he's always remained professional in his commentary, frequently emphasizing how much he appreciates the rapid growth and visibility of women's basketball as a whole. Still, before the current WNBA season even tipped off, he made it clear that he was rooting for Reese, standing among her most loyal advocates, with a personal and financial stake in her success through their shared connection with Reebok. Shaq could often be spotted courtside at Chicago Sky games, cheering on his protege and noting how far the women's game has evolved. That's why his most recent remarks caught many by surprise. For the first time, he openly admitted that it's Caitlin Clark, not Angel Reese, who has become the true player to watch. True to his nature, Shaq's tone was genuine and humble, acknowledging reality rather than clinging to loyalty. His comments came after the latest Reese vs. Clark matchup, a lopsided win for the Indiana Fever that may have effectively sealed the Rookie of the Year debate and changed Shaq's perspective once and for all. "She does everything right," Shaq said. "I never really talked about her before because Angel is my girl, but honestly, Caitlin Clark is for real. I watch her play and try to get upset, but I can't. She makes the right pass, the right play. They try to rough her up, and she never complains. She's great, even this early, she's the real deal. Much respect to her, her family, and how she was raised." Coming from someone who spent nearly 2 decades in the NBA sharing the floor with legends like Penny Hardaway, Kobe Bryant, Dwayne Wade and LeBron James, those words carry serious weight. Shaq knows what it means to play the right way. And despite his long-standing loyalty to LSU's brightest star and his professional ties to Reebok, he can't deny that no woman in basketball is making a bigger impact right now than Caitlin Clark. The significance of Shaq's statement runs deeper than it might seem. It could mark a turning point in how the media frames Clark's influence. If even Shaquille O'Neal, who has every reason to promote Angel Reese, can't resist praising Caitlin's dominance, it raises the question of whether anyone else can continue to downplay her greatness. From the start, there was never any doubt that Caitlin Clark would elevate the WNBA's visibility. She single-handedly made NCAA women's basketball the hottest topic in American sports, and it was obvious her massive fanbase would follow her into the pros. The only uncertainty was how well she'd adapt, and how long it would take for mainstream media to acknowledge her superiority. But the Caitlin Clark effect not only carried over to the WNBA, it grew even stronger. That effect is measurable in both viewership and revenue. All 12 of the most-watched WNBA games in 2024 featured the Indiana Fever, drawing between 1.2 and 2.3 million viewers across networks. For perspective, the average NBA game last season reached 1.56 million viewers. And that's not even counting the WNBA All-Star Game, which peaked at 3.4 million viewers, the league's highest total since its inaugural season in 1997. Clark's presence has also revolutionized in-person attendance. The Fever now lead the league with roughly 17,700 fans per night, a staggering leap from just over 4,000 last season. That surge translates directly into millions in new revenue for the team and the league as a whole, and it's only expected to climb as Caitlin's star power cements her status and the awards begin to pile up. Naturally, Shaq, a four-time NBA champion, Hall of Famer, and savvy entrepreneur, understands the business side better than anyone. Beyond being one of the game's most iconic figures, he's also a sharp investor with ventures spanning fast food, tech, and entertainment. He knows the immense value of aligning with global stars, and Caitlin Clark's rise represents exactly the kind of cultural and financial momentum that captures his attention. The following clip perfectly captures that realization.
I wanted to start a business. The way I learned business was a gentleman gave me a book, The Dummy's Guide to Starting Your Own Business. When I was reading it, wasn't familiar with anything, but it was a chapter that really piqued my interest, joint ventureships.
Right now, it's simply not a good time to be a Caitlin Clark hater. She's performing at an almost MVP caliber level, carrying a once struggling franchise straight into the playoffs and to the top of the league's revenue charts. Standing alone at the peak of her rookie class, Caitlin has become the undisputed leader of her team, a group that's steadily finding its rhythm around her brilliance. This is the essence of the rise of Caitlin Clark. Many of those same commentators who doubted her ability to succeed in the pros, or who preferred Angel Reese over her, have gone quiet, only resurfacing occasionally to walk back their earlier takes. To this point, speaking out against Caitlin Clark means denying the obvious facts and risking a wave of online backlash. Predictably, many of those who once used her name for cheap clicks have now started avoiding the subject altogether. Bit by bit, the major sports media have reached a clear consensus. Caitlin Clark hasn't just lived up to the hype, she's exceeded it. Aside from a few stubborn critics, nearly everyone has accepted that there's a new face of the WNBA, one who doesn't fit the old stereotype of what a women's basketball star should look like. After years of mesmerizing college audiences, Caitlin has once again elevated her game, and now, she commands the undivided attention of the entire nation. Women's basketball, once an afterthought in TV programming, has suddenly become primetime entertainment. In fact, other sports events are beginning to worry about competing for airtime. A perfect example came this past September, when the first ever NFL game in Brazil coincided with an Indiana Fever matchup. To everyone's surprise, several respected sports personalities declared that Caitlin and the Fever were the must-watch event that night. One of the loudest voices belonged to Dave Portnoy, founder of Barstool Sports. He didn't hold back his opinion, saying, "Honestly, only a fool would watch the NFL over the Indiana Fever and Caitlin Clark right now. It's poetry in motion. It's art. It's beauty. It makes me want to cry tears of joy watching them." It's arguably one of the most passionate tributes anyone has given Caitlin Clark, and coming from someone as influential in sports media as Portnoy makes it even more powerful. He backed up his words with action, placing a $100,000 bet on the Indiana Fever to win the 2024 WNBA championship, even though the team hadn't made the playoffs in years. That level of faith and visibility from such a public figure could help push Caitlin and the women's game to unprecedented popularity. Consider the potential. 51% of Americans identify as NFL fans, and in 2022, 88 of the 100 most-watched broadcasts were NFL games. If even a small fraction of that massive audience crosses over to follow Caitlin, her reach, and the WNBA's growth, could skyrocket. Which leads to an interesting question: has Caitlin Clark finally earned the respect of mainstream media? It may still be too early to declare it permanent. Critics could easily resurface if she stumbles or faces an early playoff exit. But for now, the loudest voices in sports seem to be rallying behind her and crowning her the future of the WNBA. This may be the defining moment of Caitlin's rise to the top of the sports world, and a clear signal that the league is entering a new era, one led by her. Not by veterans like Brittany Griner, Aya Wilson, or Sabrina Ionescu. The WNBA has long needed a superstar who could captivate the mainstream audience, and the 22-year-old rookie appears to have aced her audition for that role. Few journalists hold more sway over public opinion than Stephen A. Smith. Known for his deep basketball knowledge, extensive connections, and fearless opinions, Stephen A. is rarely shy about stirring debate. Yet, when he spoke about Caitlin Clark, he was calm, thoughtful, and deliberate, outlining why she's such a rare generational player who deserves our collective appreciation.
She's leading the league in assists. Since July 10th, she's the second leading scorer in the NBA behind A'ja Wilson, averaging 23.8 points per game.
She's the first rookie in WNBA history to record multiple triple-doubles in a single season, and the Indiana Fever are headed for the playoffs. They're winning basketball games. She's special. She's clearly the Rookie of the Year. She's a top 3 or 4 MVP candidate for the league. It's something to behold, and she deserves a lot of credit. A lot of people connected to the WNBA owe her a debt of gratitude, because the visibility she's brought to the sport is immeasurable. Everything Stephen A. Smith said in this quote is an undeniable truth. There's simply no debating what Caitlin Clark has accomplished on the court, especially over the past 2 months. But Smith went further, reminding everyone of what Clark has done for the WNBA from a business perspective, and how many people are cashing bigger checks because of her presence. Caitlin turns everything she touches into gold, and she does it without constantly promoting her brand or talking about her endorsements. That's why it's the media's responsibility to give her credit, to acknowledge what's now being called the Caitlin Clark, Charles Barkley effect. Unfortunately, not everyone in the media has done that. Many have chosen to nitpick her or hold her back instead. But Charles Barkley, never one to sugarcoat his words, made sure to call that out directly. The Hall of Fame power forward, who co-hosts Inside the NBA alongside Shaquille O'Neal, is widely considered one of the most honest voices in sports television. Barkley is fed up with the way Caitlin has been treated this season and has used his platform to call out the hypocrisy. "People believe what we say on television," Barkley said. "Just because someone doesn't like you or your personality doesn't mean they can get on TV and slander you. It's ridiculous. This girl is incredible. The amount of attention and excitement she's brought to college and now the pros is unmatched." That's a rare statement from a basketball analyst who fully understands that negative talk can damage an athlete's public image, and even affect their income. Barkley might not deliver his words as eloquently as Smith, but his message is identical: stop the nonsense, and give Caitlin her flowers. He didn't hesitate to point out that much of the criticism stems from personal bias, and as an insider, he likely knows more than he's saying. By publicly defending Clark's importance to the sport and challenging his colleagues to do the same, Barkley is daring anyone to prove him wrong. A challenge that wasn't easy to meet when he played, and is even tougher now that he's one of the highest-paid analysts in sports. As Caitlin continues to convert former skeptics into believers and earns the respect of NBA legends like O'Neal and Barkley, the financial impact surrounding her name is growing just as fast. The WNBA has been revitalized by her arrival and is still adjusting to its new level of popularity and reach. Once viewed as the NBA's little sister, the league is now outperforming its parent organization on the NBA TV platform. In fact, the most watched game on that network in the past year wasn't an NBA matchup, it was the September 1st game between the Fever and the Dallas Wings, followed closely by a Warriors vs. Cavaliers broadcast from November. In other words, more people tuned in to watch Caitlin Clark than Stephen Curry. The WNBA now faces the challenge and opportunity of turning this sudden windfall into long-term growth. Ideally, the league should reinvest this momentum into improving infrastructure, expanding the number of teams, and enhancing overall player experience. Fans have made it clear, they want more women's basketball. What happens next could reshape the sport entirely, from higher salaries and more national broadcasts to better travel accommodations and possible expansion franchises. All of this is being driven primarily by Caitlin Clark's brilliance, but the ripple effects will benefit everyone: current players, future draftees, and even international prospects. If the WNBA wants to emulate the NBA's rise as a global brand, it needs a magnetic superstar who combines elite skill with a universally appealing personality. Caitlin Clark checks every box. Her global reach is already growing. At Fever games, fans from around the world have been spotted holding signs and flags, including one woman from Australia who proudly traveled thousands of miles just to watch Caitlin play live. That won't be the last time we see moments like that. As Clark's legend spreads internationally, so will the league's exposure if the WNBA capitalizes on this momentum, securing international TV deals and sponsorships. It could soon find itself awash in new revenue, enough to compete financially with top European leagues. The Caitlin Clark effect spares no one, and its economic impact will only deepen as her star continues to rise. With increased funding, the WNBA will be able to retain elite talent, attract global stars, and invest in player development like never before. Should this trajectory continue, the league could transform into a valuable asset for the NBA, which still owns 50% of it. While women's basketball might not yet rival the men's game in global revenue, the gap is no longer a canyon, it's narrowing fast. Figures like Shaquille O'Neal and Dave Portnoy may have been late to the Caitlin Clark bandwagon, but they're here to stay. Their recent words prove that those who believed early were right all along. Back in June, Clark's die-hard fans insisted she could compete with anyone in the WNBA, and were dismissed as delusional. Now, as the world rushes to celebrate her achievements, those early supporters are finally vindicated. For them, this moment, watching mainstream media, NBA legends, and sports moguls all acknowledge her greatness, feels like a personal victory. They remember every doubt, every insult, and every headline that dismissed Caitlin's potential. And now they get to enjoy her triumph. If you were one of those people who, 6 months ago, believed that Caitlin Clark was the greatest prospect ever to wear a WNBA jersey, you're looking pretty smart right now, and this is only the beginning. Imagine what happens if the Fever mount a deep playoff run. But if you believed in Caitlin when few others did, there's no reason to lower your expectations now. Recent weeks have shown she's figured out how to win in the WNBA, and the postseason experience ahead will only sharpen her for the championship chase to come. Maybe Dave Portnoy's $100,000 championship bet for 2024 is ambitious, but next year could tell a different story. One thing feels certain: Caitlin Clark won't have to wait long to lift the trophy that truly matters. And when that moment arrives, her most loyal fans will have the ultimate satisfaction: watching their heroes stand at the top of the basketball world. That's a scene worth waiting for.